Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, we're going to be talking about props in React. Now, props are a very important concept in React and definitely something you're going to want a good foundation on. So this video is going to cover all of your foundational skills for using props. Okay, so in our last video, we got started writing our very first React component, and it added absolutely nothing of anything to our site other than this text that says welcome to React, which was already there in the first place. So we're basically at a net zero here. We haven't really done a whole lot. So in this video, I can't promise that we will have anything even more exciting than this, but we are going to learn about one of the basic principles within React. And we're going to learn a little bit about some nice new JavaScript stuff as well. So let's get talking about props in React. Now, a prop is a property on a component and the basic way that components talk to one another. Now, components talk in sort of a one-way manner. And that's not to say that there aren't ways around that, but things drill down from the top to the bottom. So for instance, welcome right here is a subcomponent of app, right? It's a child of the app component. And because of that, the data needs to flow downwards from app into welcome through what's called props. Now you can pass in props into any component just simply by giving it a prop. So let's just say this is the text, right? This is our welcome text. And this is now a prop. And we can assign this to something by saying equals, and then I'll have some string here. Now, you could actually assign this to things like brackets here as well. You could pass anything as a prop. You could pass in a string, you could pass in an object, you could pass in a function. Anything that's in JavaScript can be passed in through a prop. And it often will be used, a lot of that stuff, right? You can occasionally pass in pretty much anything you want. So before we defined this constant variable welcome, and we were using it down in our welcome, let's actually go ahead and take the string welcome to React, and let's remove this entirely. And let's paste it in here as our text prop. So our welcome component now has a prop of text, and we can access this prop in our child component simply by coming down to our child. Now keep in mind here, if we head to our command line or our app here, this thing's going to be broken. But one of the things I really love about Create React App is that they add in this nice little error finding. So because of this, we can see our error being displayed right here. And so check it out. You can see this is one of the things I love about this. And oftentimes I'll get messages about how do I fix that? And the best way to fix things is to, well, read the errors. So you can see this error, it says on line 24, welcome is not defined. And if we head down here, you can see we're using this variable welcome on line 24, and we never defined welcome anymore because I deleted it. So obviously this is where we want to start changing things. But like I mentioned before, just follow the errors. They're going to tell you what's wrong. So here we have our text and we have our h1, and inside of here we would like it to output the text from our prop. Well, we can access props in React simply with this.props. So if I change welcome to this.props and then .text. Okay, remember, because the name of the prop is text. So save this. And now if we head back to our app, you can see we have welcome to React, and we can change welcome to React, welcome to using props. And now you can see this has been updated. So what we've done is we've passed data from a parent to a child. Now, in the last example, we just had a global string that was a constant that we were just outputting. That isn't something you're going to do super often in React. What's more common is that data, whether it's an array of things or an object or a string, a function, lives in a parent and gets passed down into the children. Well, a common example, let's say if you're building out a movie list like we will be doing, you have an array of movies, and then you iterate over that array and output each movie as its own item. So in that case, you would have an array of movies, you would iterate over it, and you would have a child component, which would be an individual movie, and you could pass in that entire individual movie into that individual movie component, and that component would know what to do with the data. Now, this is something you're going to be doing later in this series, and it's going to be super easy. So as you can see here, we are using props, and the only props that exist on this component are the ones that we define it. And since we've only defined text and text is equal to welcome to using props, that's all that we can output out here. So this is something that's very common. You're going to be doing this all the time. However, let's talk about a way that we can make this text a little bit better. Let's say you're outputting this a whole bunch of times. And obviously it makes no sense to output this .props.text a whole bunch of times. But can you imagine having to write this .props every single time? Doesn't that just seem laborious, right? That seems totally unnecessary. So what we can do is this object assignment deconstructing, where we come in here into our render function, but before our return function. This is also something that is going to be a common technique in React, is actually doing some JavaScript before your return. And keep in mind, this is just a method here. If you were to say, let's say console log hi right here, React isn't going to complain because this is an area for just JavaScript, right? So let's go ahead and assign a variable by deconstructing an object. And that seems scary because it's a bunch of jargony words, but it's really just being able to pull out the text variable from this object so we don't have to write this .props every time. So we can do that by saying const, and the syntax for this is curly brackets and then the name of your new variable, which is simply text. And we're going to be pulling out text from this .props. So this syntax is something you will see very, very frequently. We're defining text is equal to, well, the object property inside of this .props that matches this text. So this doesn't make a ton of sense right now because we just have one property, but let's say you had several properties. You could do comma, prop2 or prop1, prop2, whatever, and pull all of these variables out, and then you never have to write this .props ever again. It's just a time saver. It doesn't necessarily make your code any better, but it does make it easier to read, because now down here where we have app.title, we can change this text to simply just text, because this variable is defined right here. So now inside of our h1, we can simply see it just says text rather than this .props.text taking up all that space. And here we can come to our component and see obviously that everything's still working. We're not getting any big flashing errors. So let's take a look at that syntax one more time. It's const brackets text brackets is equal to this .props semicolon. And if you are getting an error, remember, follow the error message and fix your error. Okay, so these are props in React. It's a core concept. It's an absolute basic building block of using React, and it's something that you're going to be doing even in this series over and over and over and over and over again. So in this example, it seems kind of basic, but once we, like I said, start iterating over things and start being able to reduce code by making things drier and not repeating ourselves, you're going to see the true power of stuff like this, as well as the overall component-based workflow of React. So these are props in React. Now, this isn't the only thing we're going to be talking about props. Now, there's a lot of different things that are important to know about props, such as prop types and default props, that sort of stuff. But these are things that we're going to be covering once our example is a little bit more fleshed out than just text, you know? So check it out. This is props in React. In the next video, we're going to be talking about state. State is another core concept of a React component. And anytime we have a component that is a component or a pure component, which we haven't talked about yet, you will have access to state. So fire up the next video and learn a bit about state within React. As always, if you want to learn more, head to store.leveluptutorials.com and purchase this series outright, or you can become a pro at leveluptutorials.com/pro, and you can get access to all these files. You can stream, you can download any of that stuff, and you will get new series every single month, and you will get the access to vote on which series I'm doing and stuff like that. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.